Hi folks, Smarty here. Today I'm going to do a little study with instant coffee. So if you've just had a nice cup of the drink and you want to see what you can do with this, take a teaspoonful of instant coffee, put it into one of your pallets or tray, and add a little bit of hot water to it to dissolve it. Keep it nice and thick and strong because we're going to do a landscape painting with this today. Okay, so to start off with, we're coming up a third from the bottom, and we're going to do a simple monochromatic landscape. Okay, so one color, but different tones within that. Okay, so that's our landscape backdrop. And then the kind of brushes I'm going to be using today, I want a good thick kind of brush, and that'll do for my bigger washes, and then maybe a rigger. And I've got a sword brush here, and maybe I'll use a number 10 or number 12. That's going to be my main brushes that I normally use, my go-tos if you like. And if you have a hake, this is great for putting down your white or your wash, just with clear water. That'll do for your white that you'll want to show burning through. Also, if you don't have a hake like this, you can get little sponges and you can dump them in water, and then you can just wet across the page as well. So that's great if you're doing large pieces of work. Okay, so I'm going to put some clean water on that, and then I'm just going to give that sky area a quick wash over with clean water. Painting with coffee, it's one of those projects it's great to do with school kids and so on, so you're not having to worry too much about teaching them how to mix colours at that early stage, but you're just kind of teaching them about, how to get the tone and depth and perspective into their pictures. Okay, so that's that pretty much wet now. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a wee bit of water into the well here. Okay, and I'm going to pull a wee bit of that coffee over. So what I'm going to do is I want a big wash across the sky. Just treat this the way you would when you're doing any kind of landscape. If you could imagine that being your yellow ochre, and you want that nice kind of, almost looks like a sunset. So I'm going to switch back to my hake here. Just find this much easier for these bigger skies, I'm just going to bring that down to the horizon, and then maybe just drag it on down into the foreground. Okay. Alright, so that'll do for my sort of soft, warm background. And while that's still damp, what I want to do now is get more stronger pigment. When I say pigment, I'm talking about coffee. It smells lovely. So I want some nice dark clouds here. So I'm just going to pop a few in here and there. Obviously, the stronger the coffee is in terms of the brand, and the darker it is, the more variation you're going to be able to get within your artwork. Make sure it's all well mixed up, because you don't want that granulating too much on your page. Okay, I think I'll stick with that for now. Maybe a little distant cloud or two here in the distance here. Keep them nice and small. They look like they're way in the distance. Okay. I think we'll stick with that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to dry this off with my hairdryer. Okay, so that's that dried off with the hairdryer. If you tend to find that you're getting a lot of cackling in your artwork, try maybe using a hairdryer and keep on drying it until it's completely dry and flat for you. Okay, so that's the sky sorted. I'm reasonably happy with that. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. I want to pop in some distant hills. Okay, so again, you know, things that are in the distance tend to be a lot lighter, and if you were using a blue grey, that would give you the impression of that. But since we're only using one colour, we've got to start really light. So it's all about getting the right depth of tone here. So I'll just drop that in the background there. If you need to go a wee bit stronger, just add a wee bit more coffee into it. Now remember, if you don't have coffee at hand, you can use burnt sienna in your palette, or burnt umber. I'm just bringing that down to the bottom of our line. Okay, what I can do now, I can start to go into some darker coffee or pigment if you don't have coffee, and just kind of drop it along the bottom there, just to give the impression that there's maybe houses and buildings and something going on in that distance. Okay. Maybe just hit a few little drops here and there. Give the impression that there's a building or two here. Okay, and then I want to give the impression there's maybe a tree round about this top of this hill here. So it shouldn't take you long doing this. Maybe pull out a stronger section here. If you find that you're not getting the right variation in tones, as in good dark tones, just make sure the coffee is not too watered down. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to switch to another brush here. I'm going to put a tree in there. So I'm just going to use the side of the brush like this. Don't be overly fussy with this. If you want to leave little gaps in your tree, that's fine. Because you can fill them in with branches. Okay, just maybe let that sit for a wee second. So that's our middle section done. What I want to do now is I want to create the impression that there's fields here. So I can go back to my big brush again, and I want to start off lightish. Okay, that looks okay. I'm trying not to hit the wet paint above it. It'll just all run down into it. So I'm just kind of coming up and stopping short of it. It's okay to hit it here and there if you want to create an impression of shadow, just like I did there. All right, and then I'm going to go in now some stronger stuff, and I'm just letting the brush just skim along the top there. And don't worry if you've missed some bits of paper here and there. It all adds to that impression. Okay. So what I'm going to do, just below this tree here, I'm going to go into some darker stuff, and I'm just going to run a wee drop along the bottom of that there. And that's going to give me the impression that there's shadow going on. Alright, so now I'm going to go in with my rigger and just pull up some wee bits of branches and tree trunk and so on. And if this if it doesn't dry out the way you want, you can still go back in here and when it's dry and just do a wee bit more work to it. Okay. I'm just going to take a wee tissue and I'm just going to soften those trees on the hill there, just to give the impression that they're. I might even use my wee spray, give it a wee spritz there, just to soften that. Okay, that's not bad. I think what I'll do is give it a wee quick run along there. And I'll get that dried off. So, back to the old hairdryer. Okay, so that's that dried off. So, at this stage, I'm looking to add little bits of detail and texture in. So, I'm going to go back to my wee rigger here. Maybe just pull it a few more wee branches into those trees there. Don't overdo this, just keep it nice and loose and impressionistic. Maybe drag a wee bit of darker stuff along the bottom of that. Give the impression that there's some trees or bushes in front of that there. Okay, so you want to give the illusion that there's layers within your painting. So I'm just going to do a couple of wee quick lines here and there. Maybe drop in a couple of wee bushes and trees here. Okay, so I want a wee thin brush here, just to give the idea that there's different sections of fields and so on going on here. Maybe one or two going this way. Okay, and maybe a few wee bushes and so on here at those tops of those lines. Okay. Any big drops, you can just kind of touch them with a wee tissue just to take them off. So I'm going to put a couple of bushes in here. So we're nearly done. There's not too much more to do. It's just a wee quick study. Okay, so some nice dry stuff. want to just do a quick skim across the bottom of this. So I'm using the side of the brush and I'm just kind of dragging it. Remember what you learn through this method, you can apply it to your normal painting with normal paints. It's all the same idea. It's all about technique. Okay, so there's not much more I want to do to that there. I'll give it a quick dry and then we'll drop in maybe a couple of wee friendly birds. Okay, so that's that dried off. What I want to do now is get my wee brush and right into the neat coffee, and then I want to pull out some wee birds. Remember, keep them nice and fine, small in the distance there. And a bit bigger as I go up into near the clouds and top of your painting. Okay, and maybe a few over here. Don't forget to use your tissue if it doesn't work out well for you, okay? Okay, and then that wee tree there, maybe. A few more wee bits of detail here and there. I don't want to overwork this. I'm just using that same brush that I used for the little birds there. So I think that is us. Maybe just a couple of wee bits and bobs in that distant hill there. Don't want to overdo that either. Okay. So I think that is it. The stage, all that's left is to pop your signature on there. And that's us. That's a simple little study using coffee. That's a good way of just working with if you're trying to get a depth of feel in your paintings and you want to kind of experiment a wee bit, or you're out and about and you've got a brush but you might have forgotten to take your paints. It's a good way to be able to keep on painting and keep on doodling as you go. Okay, so hopefully that helps, and keep on working with the paintings as you have been, and keep on pushing forward and you will see an improvement in your work. So until the next time, keep painting and I'll see you soon.